This is Michael Hale from Red Zone Radio, and we have breaking news coming in this morning. Multiple emergency bulletins are being issued across the country about what authorities are calling, and I want to be very precise with this. What the CDC is officially describing as a confirmed human case of an unidentified virus, showing what they're calling extreme neurological symptoms. Now, I want to stress this before anything else. The CDC has issued an advisory, not an alarm, not a warning, an advisory. There is reportedly one individual, location being withheld pending family notification, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, who is currently in isolation as we speak. We have no city, no name, no specifics beyond what the federal bulletin contains. Jenny, you've got the actual statement in front of you. Walk our listeners through it.
Yeah, so I have the official CDC release here, and the language is, look, it's clinical. That's what government documents are. But I want to read this exactly as written because I'm not going to put words in anyone's mouth. Quote, "The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is actively monitoring a confirmed case of an unidentified pathogen presenting with acute neurological symptoms, including aggressive behavioral changes, significant loss of cognitive function, and notable unresponsiveness to standard pain stimuli." End quote. Michael, unresponsiveness to standard pain stimuli. I read that clause 3 times before I came on air.
Okay, and I hear you. But that phrase covers a lot of territory. That could be a dissociative episode. That could be an extreme synthetic drug reaction. Bath salts, PCP, some new compound we haven't cataloged yet. We've seen situations before where someone seemed impervious to pain and it turned out to be a chemical explanation. I'm not saying that's what this is. I'm saying let's not leap.
I'm not leaping anywhere. I'm reading you a government document that says a person could not feel pain. I'm just reading.
And you're right to read it. And here's what I know for certain. The internet has already sprinted to its conclusion. Zombie virus is trending. Capital Z, capital V. And I want to be honest with our audience. 2 hours ago, I was drinking terrible coffee, and Jenny and I were arguing about whether the Yankees have any hope this season.
They don't.
They completely. We are not doing this right now. The point is, 1 hour ago this was a normal Tuesday morning. And now we've got federal advisories, social media calling this a zombie virus, and our phones are already lighting up. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to be the calm, accurate voice in the room. We are going to report what we know, acknowledge what we don't know, and we are going to give our listeners the truth as it develops. Our lines are open. We have our correspondent working in the field. Let's go to our first caller. You're on Red Zone Radio.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for taking my call. I've been listening since the bulletin, and I live in Seattle, and I need to talk to somebody about what I saw this morning because it's been sitting in my chest since I got home, and I don't know what to make of it.
Sandra, what did you see? Give us specifics.
Okay, so I'm a runner. I go out early, 5:30 most mornings, and this morning I headed out my usual route, and I got about 3 blocks from the hospital in my area, and there were hazmat vehicles. And I don't mean one truck, I mean multiple vehicles. The whole front entrance of the hospital was blocked off with police tape, and officers in full gear were standing the perimeter. And the thing that really got me, they were turning away hospital staff. Nurses and doctors showing up for their morning shift, and officers were just redirecting them, telling them to wait, turn around.
And did you speak to any of those staff members who were being turned away? Did any of them tell you what they'd been told?
I didn't get close enough to have a conversation. The officers had created a wide perimeter. But my friend, she's a nurse at that hospital. She goes in for the early shift every Tuesday. She texted me when she got there and said they wouldn't let her in. And then about 40 minutes later, her texts just stopped completely. And she is not someone who goes quiet on her phone. She's always on her phone, always responds within minutes, and nothing. I've called twice, texted 4 times, nothing.
Sandra, when you say the hazmat vehicles, can you describe what type? Was it one unit or full biohazard response team equipment?
Full response. The white suits. The full suits with the respirators. These weren't people responding to a chemical spill. This looked like I watch enough news to know what a biohazard response looks like, and there were a lot of them. It was organized, like it had been planned. Like they knew they were going there before they got the call. Does that make sense? It didn't feel reactive. It felt prepared.
Sandra, are you home right now?
Yes. I came straight back when I saw the situation. I live alone and I've been sitting here refreshing news and nothing is matching what I actually saw on that street.
Stay inside. Keep your door locked and keep listening. We're going to keep reporting as this develops. And if your reaches out, if anything changes, I want you to call us back. Can you do that?
Yes. Yes, I will. Michael, please don't stop covering this. Promise me you won't stop.
We're not going anywhere. Thank you for calling, Sandra. Jenny, that's 2 data points before 9 a.m. The Federal Bulletin, and now a civilian on the ground in Seattle, describing a full hazmat response, and hospital staff being locked out of their own building.
And the social media picture is accelerating. I've been watching the feeds during the break, and the phrase zombie viruses is coming from everywhere. And I want to be very clear to our listeners that term is originating entirely from social media. No official body has used that language. But the volume of posts, the geographic spread, people in the Pacific Northwest are describing unusual police activity, unusual hospital activity, and using that phrase to describe it. Now. Whether that's because the situation fits that description, or because people are pattern matching to the most dramatic explanation they know, I genuinely don't know yet.
And that's the honest answer. We don't know yet. But Sandra's call was specific. She named the hospital area. She described organized hazmat response.
Hey, yeah, I want to keep this brief because I probably shouldn't be on my phone right now, to be honest. I'm a nurse, Portland area, and something came through on our internal hospital system this morning that I've never seen in 12 years in this profession, and I had to tell somebody.
Derek, what did the advisory say?
So it was a standard format internal clinical advisory. These go out to nursing staff and physicians for patient-specific updates. Normal procedure, but the language used to describe this particular patient was unlike anything I've encountered in my career. It said, and I'm going from memory because the document was pulled, which I'll get to, it said the patient was, quote, highly combative and presenting with symptoms unlike any known pathogen in current clinical literature. That last phrase, unlike any known pathogen in current clinical literature. 12 years. I've never seen that in a clinical advisory. Not once.
And did it say where this patient was being transferred from? Where they were going?
Both locations redacted. Origin redacted, destination redacted. And here's the thing. About 20 minutes after it went out, the whole advisory disappeared from the system. Pulled. And then we got a follow-up message from administration saying to disregard the previous communication that it had been sent in error. But Jenny, I know what an accidental release looks like. We get those occasionally. Somebody hits the wrong mailing list, wrong document attached. This was not that. The formatting was correct. The clinical codes were correct. The authorization headers were correct. That advisory was real. Somebody decided we shouldn't have it and took it back.
Was there any explanation given to staff about what's happening in Seattle? Any official communication from hospital leadership?
Our chief nursing officer called an all-staff briefing this morning. I've been through COVID protocols, through flu pandemic scares, through every significant health event of the last decade, and this briefing was 5 minutes long. 5 minutes. She stood up, she said, "You may hear a number of things today. Stay focused on your patients. Do not speak with any media. Direct all inquiries to the communications department." And then she left. No context, no information, no reassurance, nothing. And in 15 years of working under this woman, I have never, not once, received a briefing that short with that little in it. She looked like someone who had been told something and was trying very hard not to show it.
Derek, are you frightened right now? Personally?
When institutions that exist to have information start actively withholding it, from the people who need it most to do their jobs. Yes, that's always the tell. That's when I get scared. Because we're the ones who have to deal with whatever walks through the door. If they're not preparing us, that means what's coming is something they don't know how to prepare us for. I have to go. I shouldn't have my phone out. But someone needed to know.
It's known now. Thousands of people just heard you. Thank you, Derek. Be safe. Michael.
I heard all of it.
A clinical advisory pulled within 20 minutes. A 5-minute all-staff briefing with zero actual information from hospital administration. Portland is already in some form of elevated protocol, and nobody is saying what for.
And what that tells me, and I want our listeners to follow this logic carefully because this is important. When a hospital administration actively suppresses information from its own clinical staff, that is not a standard bureaucratic decision. That is a decision. If you're just joining us, and the volume of new listeners hitting our stream right now is something we've never seen on a Tuesday morning. Here is where we stand. The CDC has issued a public health advisory regarding a confirmed case of an unidentified pathogen in the Pacific Northwest. In the time since we've been on air, 2 significant developments. First, the CDC has quietly updated their advisory language on their website. No press conference, no announcement, just a quiet change. From monitoring to active investigation. Jenny, put that in context for our listeners.
The last times the CDC moved from monitoring to active investigation within a 2-hour window was in the early days of COVID now. I'm not saying this is COVID. I'm not drawing that comparison for alarm. I'm drawing it for scale. When that language changes that fast, it means the situation on the ground is developing faster than their initial assessment anticipated. They upgraded because they had to. Because what they're seeing is moving.
Second development. One of our listeners captured from a police scanner before the frequency was locked and sent us a transcript. I'm going to read from it directly. Quote, Unit 4, subject is still mobile. Taser deployed twice, subject is still advancing. Requesting additional units immediately. Subject will not respond to commands. And then, subject has bitten Officer Park. Officer Park is down. End of transcript. Now, we cannot independently verify every word of that. We're being transparent about that. But the behavioral description in that transcript, an individual who absorbed 2 taser deployments, kept advancing, and bit a police officer, aligns precisely with what the CDC's own advisory described as unresponsiveness to standard pain stimuli. 2 separate sources. Same behavior.
And a police officer is down. Officer Park, we don't know his condition. We don't know anything beyond that line. But someone named Officer Park went to work this morning and encountered something that our training, our protocols, and everything we've established as normal police response apparently wasn't built for. Our phones are full. Let's go.
Hi, my name's Carol. I'm calling from Tacoma. I'm sorry if my voice... I've been up all night and I'm trying to hold it together here.
Take your time, Carol. You're on the air. What's happening?
My brother is a first responder. He's been doing it for 11 years. Firefighter and emergency response. He got called to something last night and he came home this morning around 4 a.m. And Michael, I don't know how to say this properly. He looked like something had been taken out of him. He's not a small person, my brother. He's not someone who rattles. He's the person in our family who everyone calls when things go wrong, because he stays steady. And he came through the door and he went straight to the kitchen sink and he washed his hands. Over and over. I counted. He washed his hands 7 times before he got in the shower. Just standing at that sink, washing, staring at nothing. And then he showered for 40 minutes. And then he went to his bedroom and locked the door. And he hasn't come out.
Has he communicated with you at all since he got home?
One text from inside the room. It just said, pray. 1 word. My brother hasn't attended a church service in 15 years. He makes fun of me for watching religious content online. He sent me 1 word this morning and it was, pray. I don't know what to do with that. I called my mom, but I didn't know what to tell her. I'm sitting right now in the hallways outside his bedroom door. I can hear him breathing in there. He's okay, but he won't come out.
Carol, I want you to hear something. Your brother is home. He is breathing. He is behind a locked door, which means he knows where he is, and he chose to be somewhere enclosed and secure. Whatever he encountered last night, whatever he saw, he made it home. That matters more than anything else right now. You said you can hear him. Does he sound distressed? Any sounds of pain or injury?
No, just breathing. Sometimes I hear him move. He's just in there. And his partner, they always work the same unit. His partner's wife messaged me this morning to ask if I'd heard from my brother because her husband came home the same way, same behavior. Won't speak, won't come out. She said he threw up 3 times before he went into their bedroom. 2 of them, Michael. The same shift, the same night, the same response.
2 first responders from the same unit, same night. Both come home and go completely dark. Carol, I want to ask you something carefully. When your brother came in, did you notice anything physical? Any injuries? Any marks on him? Anything that concerned you beyond his mental state?
He looked physically fine. No injuries I could see. He just looked emptied out. Like something had removed whatever was behind his eyes. And the hand washing. That's what I keep coming back to. 7 times. Like he was trying to wash something off that wasn't there. Or that he was afraid was there.
Stay near him, Carol. If his condition changes at all, if you hear anything that worries you from that room, get out of the apartment and call emergency services. And call us back. Will you do that?
Yes. Michael, just tell me, is this going to be okay? Somebody tell me this is going to be okay.
We're going to find out what's happening. And while we do, keep your front door locked. Stay close to your brother. And we are not going anywhere. Thank you for calling, Carol. 2 experienced first responders, same shift, same outcome. Both come home psychologically devastated and go silent. And I want our listeners to really sit with what that means. Because these are people trained to manage crisis. These are people who run toward things that other people run away from. When they come home and lock themselves in their rooms and send one-word texts, whatever they encountered last night was outside the boundaries of everything their training prepared them for.
Our correspondent just updated me again. He says there are now, since his last message, 2 additional vehicles that have joined the perimeter outs the Seattle hospital. He describes them as looking like federal transport, dark, no markings. And he says staff are still not being let in. The hospital has been functionally sealed for over 2 hours now. A hospital that is supposed to be actively receiving patients is sealed. Which means either they're not receiving patients, or the patients they already have are taking up every resource they have. Let's go back to the phones.
Yeah, I need to be fast because I don't have a lot of time. I'm a paramedic, 8 years in, North Seattle area. My unit was called out early this morning, before sunrise, for what we were told was a combative patient transport. That's the sum total of our briefing. 3 words, combative patient transport.
Marcus, what did you actually find when you got there?
Police already on scene when we arrived, multiple units. And the patient. I'm going to be precise because I want to be credible here. The physical presentation was unlike any patient I have encountered in 8 years of emergency medicine. The skin coloration was wrong, not pale, gray. A gray that doesn't have an easy clinical explanation for someone in the demographic profile we were looking at. And the eyes. Jenny, in emergency medicine, even at the most extreme end of behavioral crisis, there is always something in the patient's eyes that tells you they are still in there. Still processing, even if distorted, even the most severe psychotic breaks. There's still a person behind the eyes. This individual, there was nothing, absolute blank, like looking at something that had the shape of a face, but none of the content.
How did the patient respond to your presence? Any reaction to you approaching?
The reaction was there was a kind of orientation toward us, like a tracking response, but without recognition, without anything that looked like human awareness. And the strength, we needed 4 of us to get this patient onto the gurney. 4 trained paramedics dealing with a person of average physical build. The restraints we secured them with, rated for significantly higher load than a standard adult. Those restraints were straining. Not from struggle in the way a combative patient struggles. From constant, unrelenting, non-fatiguing pressure. Like the patient was not experiencing any diminishment. No exhaustion, no response to discomfort. The effort was just continuous.
Was there any verbal communication from the patient at all?
Sound, but not language. Not words, not attempts at words. A sustained, low sound, rhythmic in a way that didn't match breathing patterns. I kept trying to classify it during the transport. I kept reaching for something in my experience that it resembled. I couldn't find it. The closest I could get was that it sounded mechanical, like something running on a frequency below language, below communication, below intentionality, not human. And I have said that sentence to 3 people since this morning, and every time I say it, it sounds more accurate, not less. Not human.
After the transport was completed, were you debriefed? Were you given any information about what you'd just transported?
Our supervisor pulled the team aside, and he told us, verbally, no documentation, nothing in writing, that the transport fell under federal health protocol, that we were not to file our standard incident documentation, and that we would be contacted separately for an alternative documentation process. 8 years I have been a paramedic. I have never been told not to document a call. Not once. Not a call involving a controlled substance. Not a call involving a death. Not a call involving a minor. Never. Documentation is the non-negotiable foundation of what we do. When someone tells you not to document something, that's not a protocol. That's a cover. I don't know who told my supervisor to tell us that. But whoever it was, they wanted this call to not exist on paper. And I want people to know that it exists. This call happened.
It happened. We heard you. Thousands of people just heard you. Marcus, thank you. Please be safe. Gray skin. No recognition in the eyes. Strength that didn't diminish. A sound that didn't resemble language. A documentation blackout ordered by federal health protocol.
The documentation element is the one I keep circling back to, because in emergency medicine, documentation isn't bureaucracy. It's the chain of accountability. It tells you what happened, when it happened, who was involved, and what the outcome was. When you suppress that chain, you create a version of events that has no record, which means someone is actively engineering a history of this morning that doesn't contain what actually happened. And that only makes sense if what actually happened is something they are not prepared for the public to know yet.
All right. Quick pause before we get back into the story.
Yeah, and honestly, we just wanted to say thank you. Seriously, every single person listening right now helps keep Red Zone Radio alive.
These stories take a crazy amount of time to make, and because of YouTube policies, sometimes we can't even tell the stories the way we really want to.
So that's kind of why we made our Patreon. Over there, we upload uncensored, ad-free, full-length stories way more often. No cuts, no holding back, just the raw apocalypse and outbreak content you came here for.
If you're the type who likes putting headphones on late at night and getting completely lost in another world for hours, that's really what Patreon is built for.
And members also get early access to upcoming videos before they hit YouTube. Plus, people in the community can suggest story ideas that could actually become future episodes.
We'll still keep dropping free stories here every week, no matter what. That's not changing.
So, if you've ever wished these stories were longer, darker, more raw, and completely uninterrupted, that's exactly what's waiting on Patreon. So, link is down below.
All right, radio's back on.
National news networks are beginning to move on this now. CNN, Fox, all of them. The framing is still very cautious. Unusual public health advisory, isolated incident, no public risk. But they're using the phrase zombie virus with quotation marks. Nobody is confirming it. But the fact that they're saying it at all, even to deny it, means it's already the frame. And the White House, when asked directly this morning whether the term was accurate, said, "I have it here. We are not in a position to comment on unofficial."
It is now coming up on 9 a.m. Eastern, and in the past 60 seconds, we have received confirmation that changes the scale of this story significantly. The CDC has held a press conference, one they gave approximately 15 minutes notice for, which is not how press conferences are supposed to work. And they have confirmed, officially, that the individual in isolation in Seattle has died. One sentence. They confirmed the death and then moved to end the press conference. And that is where it should have ended. Except, Jenny was closer to the feed monitor than I was. Jenny, tell our listeners what happened before that feed cut.
Before the audio was cut, and it was cut, it didn't end naturally. It was cut mid-moment. A CDC official standing in the background of the press conference, not at the microphone, said something. I heard it clearly. The clip has been shared over 2 million times in the last 10 minutes, and I have listened to it 6 times now. 3 words. The body is still moving. The CDC's official response is that it was audio interference. 2 million clips, 6 personal listens. That was a human voice, and it said those words. The body is still moving.
The body is still moving. That is what someone inside that press conference said before the audio was cut. And now, I also want to acknowledge something I've been holding back from engaging with directly, but which I can no longer responsibly ignore. The phrase zombie virus, which started as a social media label, fringe internet shorthand, is appearing on CNN, on Fox, on every major network, with quotation marks and heavy disclaimers, but appearing, and nobody is issuing a clear, direct denial. The White House said this morning they cannot comment on unofficial terminology. Not that is inaccurate. Cannot comment. When you cannot deny something, you should be able to deny. That tells you something. Let's go to the phones.
Hi, yes, thank you, Michael. I'm in Chicago South Side. I need to tell you what I watched outside my window 20 minutes ago. Because I'm still shaking, and I don't know who else to call, and I need someone to know what I saw.
Diane, take a breath. You're on. Tell us.
I live on the 3rd floor of my building. My window faces the street. I'm up there a lot. I like to watch the neighborhood. It's my neighborhood. I've lived here 20 years. And about 20 minutes ago, I watched a man outside the convenience store across the street attack people. Not a fight, an attack. Just going from person to person. And people were running, screaming, scattering, and he just kept going. He wasn't chasing them in the way a person chases someone. He was just moving toward the nearest person and then the next and then the next. No hesitation, no fatigue, no strategy. Just continuous.
Diane, police response? How long before police arrived?
Within a few minutes, and I watched them deploy a taser on this man. And he went down, and then he got back up, and they tased him again, and he got back up again. Michael, I have watched things out this window for 20 years. I have seen fights, I have seen arrests, I have seen police manage situations I thought were unmanageable. I have never, not once in 20 years, watched someone absorb 2 taser deployments and stand back up both times. And it took eventually 6 officers, 6 for one person. And even when they had him on the ground, he was still moving, still reaching. Like he didn't know that 6 people were holding him down, like that information wasn't reaching anything inside him.
And his face, Diane, could you see his face from where you were?
Yes, and that's the part I keep seeing when I close my eyes. He had no expression. Not anger, because when someone's angry you can see it. Not confusion, you can see that too. Nothing. Completely empty. Like a face where nobody was home. Like the lights were on in the building, but every room inside was vacant. And the people he'd already gotten to, 2 of them, were on the ground, and they were. Michael, I don't want to say this, but I have to say it. They were starting to look the same. The same blankness. Before the ambulances even got there. Is that possible? Can that happen that fast?
Diane, I want you to step away from the window, right now while we're talking. Step back.
I'm okay, I'm back.
Good. Do you have food and water in your apartment?
I went shopping 2 days ago. I have everything.
Then stay inside, lock your door, stay away from the windows, and keep your radio on. And Diane, thank you for calling. Thank you for telling us.
Please just, whatever the truth is, just tell people the truth. Whatever it costs, just tell them.
Chicago, an individual who absorbed 2 taser deployments and got up both times. A face with nothing behind it. And Diane's last observation, the people who had been attacked were beginning to show the same blankness before the ambulances arrived. Jenny, we now have Seattle, Portland, and Chicago all presenting the same behavioral profile. The CDC confirmed 1 case.
1 officially confirmed case. And Miami. Our listeners in Miami are already sending in accounts. Local news there is calling it isolated violent incidents in the Overtown neighborhood. But the details from actual residents don't match any isolated incident. They sound like Chicago. They sound like Seattle. And a virologist. She reached out to us directly. She's not a scheduled guest. She found our number and asked to be put on. She's been holding, and I think we need to hear from her. But first, we have a National Guard soldier who's been waiting. Let's go there.
Yeah, I'll keep this tight. I'm National Guard, off-duty personal phone. My unit was placed on standby approximately 2 hours ago. No orders yet, but we've been told to be ready to mobilize at short notice. And I want to be clear, standby itself is not unusual. We go on standby for weather events, for civil situations, that's normal. What is not normal is everything surrounding this one.
Tyler, walk us through what's different.
We always receive a context briefing when we're placed on standby. Always. Even if it's minimal, we get a reason, we get a scenario type, we get some kind of frame for what we're preparing for. This morning, the full briefing was standby, await orders. That's it, nothing else. And our commanding officer, I've served under this man for 6 years. He is one of the most composed people I have ever known in or out of uniform. When he read us that briefing, his hands were shaking. He put his hands flat on the table at a certain point, and he kept them there. And I've watched this man stand calm in situations that would have broken other people. His hands were shaking, and he knew I saw it, and he didn't explain it. He just held them flat on the table and finished the briefing and walked out.
Are you hearing anything from other units? Any sense of how widespread the mobilization is?
Through unofficial channels, and I'll leave it at that, units in at least 3 states are currently being activated. Not just standby, active mobilization. And the destination isn't borders, isn't bases, cities. They're being moved towards cities. And nobody is telling any of us what we're doing when we get there. I have to end this call. That's everything I can give you.
Tyler, stay safe out there. National Guard being mobilized towards cities without a stated mission, without an explanation to the soldiers themselves. Michael, a domestic military deployment in the direction of the same cities we've been receiving reports from all morning.
And without an official emergency declaration that would explain it, which means the decision to move those assets was made before the public announcement, before whatever announcement is coming. You pre-position assets when you need them already in place, when the situation moves faster than press conferences can keep up with. Let's bring in our virologist.
Thank you for the platform. I want to establish up front, I have 20 years in this field. I'm not here to speculate. I'm not here to generate fear. I'm here because what is being described publicly has characteristics that I believe the public needs to understand, and that the public is not currently being given the information to understand.
Dr. Reeves, from a purely scientific standpoint, what pathogen could produce the behavioral profile we've been describing this morning? The aggression, the pain unresponsiveness, the loss of cognitive function, the apparent strength.
The behavioral profile you're describing would require severe, rapid neurological disruption, not degradation over time. That's what you see with diseases like rabies or late-stage encephalitis. This is rapid, hours, not days. A pathogen capable of producing that kind of neurological collapse that quickly would have to be extraordinarily aggressive in how it interacts with the central nervous system. More aggressive than anything currently in our documented viral taxonomy. That's not drama, that's virology.
And transmission, if the pathogen transmits through biting, through saliva contact.
That's the question every person in my field should be asking right now, and I'm concerned that we're not hearing enough public discussion of it. If the primary transmission vector is saliva, through biting, and if the incubation period is in hours rather than days, the mathematical spread model is deeply alarming. Not because of the individual cases, because of the speed. Every infected individual creates new infected individuals within the same day cycle. Standard containment protocols are built for days-long incubation periods. Hours changes everything. The models break. The protocols weren't designed for this timeline.
You said you're hearing things from colleagues in the Pacific Northwest that go beyond what's being said publicly.
Yes, I need to leave it at that. What is being communicated publicly understates significantly what is being observed clinically. I'm saying that as someone who has access to colleagues inside the situation. I would rather say that clearly and be wrong than stay professionally quiet and be right. Please take this seriously. Whatever people believe they have time to prepare, whatever they think is manageable, act sooner. That's all I'm able to say. Act sooner.
Thank you, Doctor. Be safe. We have a presidential statement. Came through 42 seconds ago. I'm reading it in its entirety. Quote, "The situation is being monitored at the highest levels. Americans should remain calm and follow guidance from local authorities. End quote. That is the complete statement. No press questions accepted. Jenny timed it.
47 seconds. 47 words. For the most significant public health event we've covered in years. No specifics about what the situation is, what local guidance constitutes, what authorities are being told to tell people, where this is happening, how many people are affected. It is a communication engineered to communicate nothing, while appearing to have communicated something. And in my experience, and I know Michael's going to say the same, that specific kind of emptiness in official communication has a meaning. It means they don't have an answer they're willing to give.
Or the answer is too large to say yet. Independent press has now broken the full patient zero story, and I want to walk our listeners through it, because it matters for understanding what we're dealing with. The first confirmed case was a 34-year-old man who returned from a hiking and camping trip in rural Washington state 3 days ago. He came home feeling off, fever, some confusion. His family brought him to hospital. Within 6 hours of admission, his behavior had changed so dramatically that he was placed in isolation. By hour 12, he was in full containment. The source of his infection, completely unknown. There is no identified point of contact, no identified substance, no identified animal exposure that explains how he got this. They do not know where it came from, and you cannot contain what you don't understand the origin of.
And speaking of where he was, we have a caller on hold from that rural area. Let's go.
Hi, thank you. I live near the area where this hiker was camping. I'd rather not be more specific than that, I hope that's okay. But I've been listening to your broadcast, and something you said just now clicked for me in a way that made my stomach drop, and I had to call in.
Linda, what clicked?
Dead animals. For the past 3, maybe 4 weeks, and I track this kind of thing because I walk these trails every day, we've been finding dead animals. Birds, deer, a family of raccoons once, all in the same area, all just down. Like they simply stopped where they stood. And at first it seemed like a natural die-off situation. We've had those before, usually with a clear environmental cause. A bad water source, something like that. But this wasn't concentrated in one location. It was spread across different parts of the trail system, different elevations. That geographic spread is what made some of us uncomfortable.
Did you or your neighbors report this to any authority? Wildlife services, environmental agencies?
Several of us filed reports, yes. Online forms, one call to a wildlife hotline. We were told it was being looked into. And then, silence. No follow-up, no acknowledgement. Which I would normally chalk up to bureaucracy and a backlog. Except now I'm wondering whether we got no follow-up because they were already watching it. Because someone had already connected those animal deaths to something. And decided the people living in that area didn't need to know.
Linda, the animals that you saw before they died, the ones you could observe while they were still alive, was there anything about their behavior that struck you?
Yes, that's the part I keep coming back to. A deer standing in an open clearing, not fleeing, not alert, just standing and swaying. Birds on the ground that wouldn't fly when approached. You could walk up to within a foot of them and they just sat there, like the thing inside them that knows to be afraid. That self-preservation response had been turned off, and then they'd drop. Just drop where they were. Whatever this thing does to cognitive function, it seems to take away the survival instinct first. Before anything else, it takes that.
And how far back are we talking? When did you first notice this?
I started actively tracking it about 3 weeks ago. But neighbors of mine, people who've lived here longer and know these trails better than I do, they say they started seeing unusual animal behavior 6 weeks back, maybe longer. Whatever this is, it was out there before any human being reported being sick. It was in the ecosystem first.
Linda, are you and the people around you safe right now? Any unusual activity with people in your area?
No, we're very rural. There are maybe 40 families in this area. Nobody unusual. But I've brought my dogs inside and I'm keeping them in. Because I don't know what's out there anymore. I thought I knew these woods. I'm not sure anymore.
Stay inside. Keep your animals close, and if you see anything change, call us back. Thank you, Linda. Animal die-offs beginning 6 weeks before the first human case. Erratic behavior consistent with cognitive disruption before death. Loss of the flight response first. Jenny. This pathogen was living in the environment of that trail system before it found its first human host. It was already there.
Which means this wasn't something introduced or manufactured and released. It was already existing in nature. And something changed. Either the pathogen changed, or a human wandered far enough into its range that contact became inevitable. Either possibility is deeply unsettling, because one of them is something you can potentially trace, and the other means there's more of it out there, still in the wild, and we have no idea how much.
And we have a caller on hold who reached out directly. He's disguising his voice. He contacted our producer to let us know he's doing that. He says he's a physician inside the Seattle situation. Let's bring him in.
I'm using a voice filter for reasons I imagine your listeners will understand. I'm a physician, 22 years of clinical experience. I'm calling from a personal device that is not connected to any hospital network. What I'm about to tell you, I'm telling you because someone needs to know. And I'm apparently the only one willing to say it.
We hear you. Take whatever time you need.
The patient, the original patient, the one confirmed deceased in the CDC press conference this morning, had to be recontained. I want to be very clear about what I mean by that. I mean exactly what you think I mean. And here's the part that matters most. When this happened, the CDC representative on site immediately directed staff to document it using a specific phrase: post-mortem involuntary motor response. They had that phrase ready. Before the situation fully resolved, they had language already prepared for what to call it. And you do not have pre-prepared language for an event that you didn't know was coming. That protocol, that document, was written before yesterday. Written before the public was told there was anything to worry about.
They had a script for this before the public knew this existed.
They had a script. And the existence of that script tells you everything about how long they've actually known something was coming. 22 years of medicine. I know the difference between an institution responding to a crisis and an institution responding to a crisis they've already wargamed. This was the second one. They knew something, and what they let the public know was calibrated. Everything you've been told is calibrated to a level they decided was acceptable. Not truthful. Acceptable.
Is there anything else? Anything you're able to say that our listeners need to know right now?
One thing, and I need people to hear it as a physician, not as a frightened person, because I am trying to be both right now. People need to leave the cities. I don't have a safer way to say that. I don't have a softer version. Leave the cities. Get out now while roads are still moving. Do not wait for an official evacuation order, because by the time they issue one, it will be difficult to comply with. Leave. That's everything I have.
A physician, 22 years of experience, disguising his voice, telling us the CDC had pre-written protocols for post-mortem reanimation, that the timeline of their knowledge goes back further than anything public, and telling people to leave the cities.
We have an obligation here, and I want to be careful because we cannot be the source of a mass evacuation panic that itself causes deaths in gridlock. But I also cannot sit here and tell our listeners to stay put when a physician with 2 decades of clinical experience, who is risking his career to speak on this broadcast, is telling them to move. Here's what I'll say. If you have somewhere to go, if you have family outside the city, if you have a property outside the city, if you have an exit plan, now is the time to evaluate it seriously. Don't wait. And the airports. We're now getting reports that Seattle, Chicago, and Miami are implementing health screening on all outbound passengers. Lines are long, footage is everywhere. And if you're screening outbound passengers, you've already accepted that the pathogen is locally present in numbers beyond what one isolation case explains. One more caller. You're on Red Zone.
Hi, I'm a long-haul trucker. I'm calling from my cab right now. I'm parked on I-90, east of Seattle. Or I was moving. Now I'm stopped. Traffic has been locked up for about an hour. I can see lights ahead. Police, maybe military, hard to tell from this distance. Near an overpass about a mile up. Something happened up there.
Karen, what's your position like right now? What can you see from where you are?
So the thing I'm calling about is happening behind me, actually. In my side mirror, there is a person, walking down the center lane of I-90, in the middle of traffic. Cars have been swerving around this person for the last 10 minutes, and nobody is stopping, nobody is getting out. And the person, the way they're moving, Michael, I've driven 18 years. I've seen confused people on highways, I've seen people in shock, people who've just been in an accident and wandered onto the road, people who are disoriented. I have a reference point for what a person who doesn't know where they are looks like on a highway. This is not that. This is something else.
Can describe what you're seeing more specifically.
The movement. The body is moving, but something is wrong with the intention behind it, like a marionette operated by someone who's never worked a marionette before. The limbs are doing the right things, but out of order, out of rhythm. And the face, I'm looking in my mirror so it's small, but I can see the face. Nothing. No response to the cars swerving around them. No flinching, no looking up. The horns going off all around this person and they just keep walking like they can't hear any of it. Like the world isn't registering.
Karen, listen to me. Stay in your cab. Lock every door. Do not get out of that vehicle regardless of what happens around you. Can you see other truckers reacting?
The guy in the Peterbilt one lane over from me, he sees it. We've been on CB together for the last 5 minutes and he can't explain it either. We're just watching and we're not doing anything because what do? You stay in the truck. You lock the doors and you stay in the truck and you watch and you wait for someone official to come handle it. And there's nobody coming. There's nobody near this stretch right now. Everyone official is a mile up at that overpass situation.
That's exactly right. You stay in the truck. And Karen, if this person gets close to your vehicle, you do not open that door. Not for any reason. Not even if they look like they need help. Do you understand me?
Understood. Fully understood. And Michael, tell your listeners, whatever this is, it's on the roads. It's moving through the highway system. It's not contained to the cities anymore. It's in the spaces between.
We hear you. Be safe, Karen. Call us back. It's in the spaces between. On the highways. Moving through the infrastructure that connects everything. Jenny, I'm also now hearing that National Guard units have been confirmed deployed. Not crowd control. The language being used in official communication is containment operations. That distinction is important. Containment means you are trying to stop something from moving. You contain outward spread. You crowd control inward behavior. Containment operations means they believe it is spreading, and they are trying to create a boundary around it.
And creating a boundary requires already knowing where the boundary needs to be. Which means their map of the spread is larger than the public map. I need to say something that I've been professional about not saying on air today. My sister texted me about taking Zids out of school. And professionally, I know what I should say. But
In the last 20 minutes, this story moved to a place I don't have adequate words for, and I'm going to try to give you adequate words anyway, because that's what we're here for. The emergency alert system fired nationally, not regionally, not locally. A national EAS alert. I'm going to read it verbatim. This is a message from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. All citizens are advised to shelter in place. Avoid contact with infected individuals. If you observe aggressive or erratic behavior, do not approach. Contact local law enforcement immediately. Tune to local emergency broadcasts for further information. End of message. Jenny.
The word infected, used officially, in a federal communication, for the first time. And the grammar, infected individuals, plural. Not an infected individual. Not a person who may be individuals. The federal government has just acknowledged, in its first official mass communication, that there are multiple infected people, and that you, the person receiving this message, may encounter one of them. That message wasn't calibrated for a single patient in an isolation ward. That message was calibrated for a population that is at immediate risk of contact. And simultaneously, there is a video.
There is a video, and I want to be careful about how we describe it. A security camera clip from inside a Seattle hospital facility, verified by multiple independent forensic accounts within the last 30 minutes, 11 seconds long. It shows the original patient, the one the CDC confirmed as deceased this morning, sitting up on a gurney, unassisted. The CDC has issued a takedown request. The clip is everywhere. We have watched it. Jenny is going to describe it as accurately and clearly as she can, because our listeners cannot see it, and they deserve to know what we know.
A person lying completely motionless on a gurney, still in the way that still means gone. And then, Without any visible external cause, without any visible transition, they sit up. Not the way a person wakes from sleep, which involves reorientation, which involves the eyes adjusting, which involves all the small signals that a body gives when consciousness is returning to it. This had none of that. It was mechanical. Once moment still, next moment upright, head up, torso up, in a single motion, no blinking, no looking around, no adjustment, just functional. Like something that had been off and was now on. And then the clip ends. 11 seconds. I've watched it 8 times. I do not have a rational explanation. I'm not going to pretend I do. Let's go to the phones. We have someone who was inside that building.
Hi, yeah. I'm a security officer at the hospital. I was in the building when it happened. I'm in my car right now, parking garage, 3rd floor. I've been here for almost 2 hours and I don't know whether to drive or stay.
Tanya, you're on with us. Take your time. Tell us what you experienced.
I was at my station. It's near a section of the facility that's close to the isolation ward, not immediately outside it, but close enough. And I heard a sound first. A low sustained sound, like the ventilation system has sometimes when there's a pressure issue. I made a note of it and went back to my work. And then the internal alarm went off. Full alert, a code I've only ever heard in drills. And over my radio, the communication that came through was containment breach, sector 4, immediate response. Containment breach. Those are words from a drill. That code exists on paper. I've rehearsed it. I've never actually heard it activated.
What happened when staff responded to the breach?
The staff who made it out of that corridor, and I want to be accurate, I counted between 7 and 8 who came out before the section was sealed. They came out and they looked... Michael, you know how combat veterans look when they come back from something they can't talk about? That specific kind of damage that happens when a person has witnessed something that's outside the category of things humans are built to witness. That's what they looked like. They weren't physically injured, they were functionally intact. But they were broken in a way that I don't have clinical language for because I'm not a clinician. I'm a security officer. And one of the nurses, she sat against the wall and she couldn't stop saying one sentence. She just kept saying it over and over. It looked at me. That was all she could produce. It looked at me.
Tanya, the people who didn't make it out of that corridor before the section was sealed. I want to ask you something, and I need you to answer as clearly as you can. The sections was sealed while staff were still inside. That means a decision was made to seal the section knowing not everyone was out.
Yes.
That decision was made to prevent the situation from reaching the rest of the hospital.
Yes. That's why the section was sealed. To stop whatever was happening in there from moving through the rest of the building. They sealed it with people still inside because the alternative was that whatever was in there reached everywhere else. And whoever made that call knew that and made it anyway. And I don't know how you make that call. I don't know how you make that call and then live with it.
Where is your car parked? How many levels are you from the exit?
3rd floor, west side of the garage, 2 levels above the street exit.
I want you to stay in that car, engine off, locked, as quiet as you can manage. When you feel it's safe to move, when you can drive that exit without having to stop or interact with anyone, drive somewhere with people you know. Don't stop anywhere in between. Can you do that?
Yes, I think so. Michael, some of them were my colleagues, the ones who didn't get out.
I know, and what you did. Getting out, calling us, making sure this information reaches people. That matters. What they would want is for people to know. Thank you for being the one to tell us. Jenny?
I know.
I need a moment.
Take it. I'll keep us on. Folks, what we're sitting with right now, together with you, is the weight of what is actually happening. Real people. A security officer in a parking garage. A nurse with her back against a wall, saying 3 words over and over. A doctor's disguising his voice. An EMT who's been told not to document a call. A first responder who came home and locked himself in his bedroom. These are real people, describing the same reality from different vantage points. And the CZ, in a press conference that just concluded, a junior official, not the director, stepped to an unscheduled microphone and said, "And I'm reading the transcript in real time as it comes through. 2 words. Novel reanimation pathogen." He said reanimation. And he was pulled from the podium before he could say another word, and the press conference was immediately ended. Reanimation. That is a clinical term. That is a word someone with a medical degree chose specifically. Michael.
I'm here. Let's take a call.
I'm a state trooper in Arizona. I'm on a roadblock assignment on I-10, western approach to Phoenix. I'm calling from my personal cell. I need to tell your listeners something that official guidance is not going to say, and may never say through official channels. And people need to know it right now.
Officer Reed, go ahead.
I've been at this roadblock for the past 90 minutes. I've directly encountered 3 individuals presenting with the behavioral characteristics your listeners have been describing. In those 3 encounters, my unit deployed taser protocol first, standard procedure. Taser is ineffective. Repeated deployment is ineffective. In 2 of the 3 encounters, my unit escalated to firearm. Lower body per protocol, to immobilize. Lower body shots did not stop movement, did not produce the expected physiological response. The only, and I want to be precise, the only response that produced cessation of movement was trauma to the head. I know how that sounds. I know what I'm saying. I have been a law enforcement officer for 14 years, and I have been trained since day one that lethal force to the head is an absolute last resort measure. I am standing on a highway in Arizona telling you that for these individuals, it is the only thing that works.
Officer Reed, has your department issued any guidance yet? Any directive about engagement protocols?
Approximately 25 minutes ago, an internal communication came through that said, and I'm going from memory, unconventional incapacitation methods may be required for affected individuals, and officer discretion is authorized. That is police language for what I just told you. That is the official system finding a way to say it without saying it directly. So I'm saying it directly, because your listeners deserve the direct version. Aim for the head. I don't care what's on any official document right now. Aim for the head. And stay off the major highways if you have any alternative. Whatever is on these roads is moving, and it is not moving slowly.
Is there anything else, anything at all, that you need Peopleton to know from where you're standing right now?
Get somewhere defensible. Somewhere with other people you trust. Somewhere you can secure. And get there now, while you still have the option of choosing how you get there. Once the highways fully lock up, that choice disappears. That's everything.
Thank you, Officer Reed. Truly, be safe. Aim for the head. A state trooper with 14 years of experience, standing at a roadblock in Arizona, who has just told us the only thing that stops this. Michael, 16 states now have confirmed reports, 16, in under 5 hours. This spread from a single patient in a Pacific Northwest hospital to 16 states. In the time it takes most people to get through a workday.
And our own building. I'm going to be honest with our listeners because you deserve honesty. Our station manager left during the last hour. I saw him go. He took his bag, and he walked out the door and he didn't say anything to us. About half of our staff is gone. Right now it's me, it's Jenny, it's our engineer keeping the transmitter running, and our intern, and we are not going anywhere. This transmitter stays on as long as we can keep it on, and we use microphones as long as that transmitter runs. Let's take one more call.
Hello, hi, I'm a nurse in Austin. I'm calling from inside my hospital right now. I'm in a supply room because I needed a minute away from the floor, and I needed to tell someone what is happening in here, because I don't know who else to tell.
Maria, tell us, what's happening?
We have 16 patients in the emergency department as of 20 minutes ago, all presenting with the same clinical profile, all brought in within the last 2 hours. All from different parts of the city, no single geographic point of origin. Fever, rapid onset of aggression, loss of verbal communication, gray pallor, complete pain, unresponsiveness. 16 patients, and Michael. 3 of them have died since admission.
Maria.
I need to finish. I need to say this. I have been a nurse for years. I have been present at the deaths of patients throughout my career. I know what death looks like. And 2 of those 3 who died, they didn't stay that way. They came back. I watched it happen. I was in the room, both times. I watched it happen, and my brain keeps trying to find the explanation, the clinical reason, the mistake I made in the observation. And it keeps coming back empty because there is no other explanation. They came back.
Maria, how many of your colleagues are still on the floor?
I can see maybe 8 still working out of a shift that started with 32. The rest have left. I understand. I don't judge anyone for leaving. But there are 6 patients, Regular patients, not infected, post-surgical, they cannot walk, they cannot be moved safely. Without equipment, we'd need 2 more people to operate, and I cannot leave them. I went to nursing school for 2 years and worked this floor for 9 years, and I cannot walk out and leave 6 people who cannot protect themselves. So I'm in this supply room for 60 seconds to try to breathe, and then I'm going back out there.
Maria, listen to me. Barricade your ward. Get everything heavy in front of every door leading to the infected patients, and keep your patients away from those doors, and call us back. Every hour if you can. Let us know you're okay.
What do I do for them? Somebody tell me what to actually do. There's no protocol for this. There's nothing in any manual. What do I do?
You stay with them. You keep them calm, and you keep them safe, and you barricade those doors. And you call us back.
Okay, I'm going back.
Jenny, I think we have to say it. I think we owe it to every person who has called us today. Every person who has been listening. Every person who needs to know what they are actually facing.
Say it.
Folks, what we are looking at right now, and we never, in any version of this job that we imagined when we started it, thought we would say this on this station, in this city, on any morning. What we are looking at is a zombie outbreak. We are not saying that for effect. We are not saying it for ratings. We are saying it because the time is Jenny. What time is it?
It's just past 2 in the afternoon.
Just past 2 in the afternoon. We have been at these microphones since before sunrise. We have not eaten. We have barely moved. And we are going to keep talking. Because in the last 20 minutes, something happened to the communication landscape of this country that every person listening needs to understand. AT&T and Verizon have both reported major network outages across the Pacific Northwest and significant portions of the Midwest. Texts are not delivering. Calls are dropping mid-conversation. The internet in those regions is running at what network engineers are describing as 5% of normal capacity. 5%. And what that means, practically, concretely, is that for a significant portion of this country, the ability to call for help, to reach family, to access information, to communicate at all through the devices they have depended on their entire adult lives, is gone. And what is left, what we are right now, is radio. A signal being pushed through the air from a transmitter on top of a building in New York City. Old technology, reliable technology. We are what is left for a lot of people right now, and we take that responsibility with everything we have.
National Guard deployment has now been officially confirmed. And I want to emphasize that word, officially, because we've been tracking this since Tyler called us hours ago, and it is now acknowledged publicly. 12 cities. National Guard units deployed in 12 American cities. The language in the official communication is containment operations. Michael made this point earlier, and I want to come back to it because it bears repeating. You contain outward spread. You do not contain something that is staying still. The military is moving to create boundaries around something that is moving. Which means their map of where this thing is larger than any map they've shared with us.
Hey, can we pause for just a second?
Yeah, just real quick. First, if you're still here with us, seriously, thank you. That means a lot. You could be anywhere right now, and the fact that you choose to spend your time inside these stories with us, we don't take that lightly.
Exactly. A lot of time, work, and honestly, a lot of heart goes into building these worlds for you. Every outbreak, every collapse, every late-night transmission.
And because of how these stories are made, sometimes we can't always go as far as we want to here.
That's why we created our Patreon. It's where we upload our full, uncut, ad-free stories. The raw versions, exactly the way we originally imagined them.
If you love getting lost in these long realism stories, the kind that let you escape reality for a while and disappear into another world, that's really what Patreon is built for.
Members also get early access to upcoming episodes. And honestly, one of our favorite parts, you can suggest story ideas. And some of those ideas end up becoming future broadcasts.
No pressure at all. We're just grateful you're here, listening.
All right. Radio back on.
And New York, I have to say this, and I know what it means to say it on a New York radio station to a New York audience. New York has its first confirmed case. Midtown Manhattan. 1 confirmed case. That's the official number. And I want our listeners to hold in their minds everything we've learned today about what official numbers mean versus what is actually on the ground. One confirmed case in Midtown Manhattan, in a city of 8 million people, with the most interconnected transit system in the world. You take the subway from Midtown to the Bronx in 25 minutes. To Brooklyn in 30, our phones are open.
Hi, Michael. I'm in the Bronx. 9th floor of my building. I've been listening since this morning, and I need to talk to someone because I have been alone in this apartment since 7 a.m. And I think I'm handling it, but I don't know if I'm handling it.
Brenda, you're not alone anymore. You're with us, and with everyone listening. Tell me what you're seeing from up there.
I can hear screaming from the street below. Intermittent. Not constant, but every few minutes. And sirens, which is not unusual for this neighborhood, except the pattern is wrong. Normally, police sirens come and then they go. They arrive somewhere and then it's quiet. These sirens they're not stopping. They're moving, but they're not resolving anywhere. Like, something keeps requiring them to move on before they finish where they started. And my neighbor, Mrs. Castillo, she's been here longer than I have. She's 72. She knocked on my door an hour ago and asked if I had candles. She said she was worried about the power. I let her in. She's here with me right now. She's making tea.
Good. You did the right thing letting her in. Nobody should be alone right now. Are your doors locked? Do you have food and water for both of you?
Yes to all of that. I went shopping 2 days ago, which felt like just a normal shopping trip 2 days ago, and now feels like the most important thing I've ever done. Michael, I have a son. He goes to school across town. His school sent an automated message at noon saying they'd initiated lockdown protocols. That's the last communication I've had. I tried calling the school. Lines are busy. I tried calling his cell, no answer. He's 12. He's 12 years old and he's across town and
Brenda, listen to me carefully. A lockdown means he is inside a secured building. Lockdown protocols in New York City schools are comprehensive. The building is sealed. The children are in interior classrooms away from windows and doors, and trained staff are with them. The school initiated that protocol because it is the correct protocol, and because trained educators made a decision to keep your son and every other child in that building safe. He is in a building with adults whose job it is to protect him. Right now, that building may be safer than this street. Do you understand what I'm telling you?
You're telling me to stay here.
I'm telling you that going across town right now, through streets where we do not know what is between you and that school, is a risk that could leave both of you in danger instead of one of you safe. You stay. You keep Mrs. Castillo warm and keep your lights on, and your door locked, and you stay near your radio. And when this resolves enough for those streets to be navigable, and that moment will come, you go get your boy. But right now, you are the most useful thing in his life by staying alive and staying put.
Okay, I can do that. Michael, can I just say something to him in case he's listening somewhere?
Say everything you want to say.
Baby, if you can hear this, wherever you are, it's Mom. I'm home. I'm okay. Mrs. Castillo is with me, and we're both okay. You stay with your teachers. You listen to everything they say. And I love you more than anything in this world, and I am coming to get you the minute it's safe. Just be brave for a little bit longer. You can do that. You were made for hard things.
He's going to hear that. Whether it's on this broadcast or someone plays it for him later, he's going to hear that. Thank you, Brenda. Stay on that 9th floor. Stay with Mrs. Castillo. We're going to keep the signal on. I want to take a moment, because I think it's easy in the pace of this broadcast to lose sight of what is actually happening at the human level. People are alone. People are separated from their children, their parents, their partners. People are making impossible decisions with incomplete information in real time. And we are broadcasting from a city that now has a confirmed case. This building, this station, is in New York City, and I want to acknowledge that clearly and honestly before we go any further. We are not outside this, we are in it.
The American Hospital Association has just issued an official statement. I have it here. Quote, emergency departments in Seattle, Chicago, and Miami have reached capacity and are diverting all incoming patients. Staff availability continues to decline. The association urges all citizens to avoid non-emergency hospital visits and to consult remote medical resources where possible. End quote. Non-emergency hospital visits. There is no such thing as a non-emergency right now. Every person in those cities who is sick, injured, or in crisis from any cause, not just this, is being turned away from the hospitals that exist to treat them. The infrastructure that holds a society together is not holding. And our phones are still running. Let's keep going.
Hey, I want to be calm about this so I don't waste your time. I've been preparing for large-scale crisis situations for about 12 years. I live in rural Montana. My property is secured, my food supply is deep, my water is independent, and I am watching everything your show is describing from a position of relative safety. I'm not calling to brag about that. I'm calling because I have information that might be useful to people who are still trying to make decisions.
Greg, go ahead. Everything you have.
First, water. If you're in a city and you still have running water, fill everything right now. Every bathtub, every pot, every container you have. Municipal water systems depend on electricity to pump and purify. Power goes, water goes. Fill everything before that happens. Second, communication. Cell networks are failing and internet is patchy in the affected regions. Get a hand crank or battery-operated radio if you have access to one. Red zone staying on air is exactly the kind of thing that matters right now. If you have a ham radio license, activate your networks. If you know someone who does, get to them. Third, food. You do not need a month of supplies. You need 2 weeks, enough to outlast the acute phase of any crisis before resupply chains can be rebuilt. Caloric density matters more than variety right now. Peanut butter, canned protein, rice, dried beans, simple.
Greg, for people in apartments in urban areas, people who have limited storage and can't exactly build a defensible property, what's the most critical thing they can do right now, tonight, with what they have?
Pick the highest floor you can get to in your building, and don't go lower than that. Height is your first defense, not because of the threat specifically, but because it limits access points and gives you visibility of what's approaching. Find your immediate neighbors. 2 or 3 trusted people on your floor is worth more than the largest isolated food supply in the world. Humans survive collectively. We always have. The instinct to lock your door and wait alone is wrong. Find your neighbors. Third, identify your exits and know which one is your last resort, not your first choice. People use the main entrance out of habit. Know your back stairs, your roof access, your building structure. That knowledge costs nothing and could be the difference.
You said you've been called crazy for 12 years.
15. My brother-in-law stopped inviting me to Thanksgiving about 7 years ago because he got tired of hearing it at the dinner table. I'd call him right now, but his cell isn't going through. I'm not saying I told you so. I'm saying the knowledge matters more than who had it first. Everything I know that might keep someone alive tonight, I'm handing over freely. That's why I called.
We're grateful, Greg. Truly. Stay safe out there.
You too, Jenny. Keep transmitting.
Pick the highest floor. Find your neighbors. Know your exits. Practical, clear, no drama. Michael, something just came through on my phone. Our engineer just sent me a message from the security monitor. There's a camera on the street-level entrance of this building. He says there's activity outside, on the block. He can see it on the monitor.
I saw the same message. I want our listeners to know we're aware of it, we're watching it, and we're staying at these microphones. Let's go to the phones.
Hi, I need to be very quiet. I'm a subway conductor. Or I was a subway conductor until about 45 minutes ago when my train stopped between stations. We're in a tunnel, somewhere between 42nd and 59th, I think. I've been sitting here for 45 minutes with a full car of passengers, and I cannot get the doors open from outside because the emergency release requires tools I don't have access to from the cab.
Amanda, how many passengers are with you? Are they calm?
About 60 people in my car when we stopped. Some have walked through to other cars, so I'm not certain of the current number. They're getting less calm as time passes, as you'd expect. We've had a few people start to really panic in the last 20 minutes. A man had what I think was a panic attack. A woman is trying to get a cell signal by putting her phone out through a cracked window. No signal down here, obviously. And the thing I need to tell you, Michael, the reason I called, is the sound.
What sound, Amanda?
In the tunnel. About 20 minutes after we stopped, I started hearing something. Irregular movement. From somewhere in the dark ahead of us. Not a MTA worker. They move with purpose and equipment, and they announce themselves on the radio. This is something moving without pattern. A kind of irregular scraping. Sometimes close, sometimes further away. And twice in the last 15 minutes, I've heard what I can only describe as, it's not a word. It's a sustained low sound that doesn't have an identifiable source. I'm in the cab at the front of the train, and I've locked the cab door. And I'm sitting in the dark with my emergency light on, and I'm hearing something move in the tunnel in front of this train, and I don't know what it is.
Amanda, listen to me very carefully. Do not open the cab door. Do not open the front-facing doors of the train. Is there a rear emergency exit on your train? A way to move passengers backward, away from the front?
Yes. The last car has an emergency rear exit. It opens onto the tracks behind the train, heading back toward 42nd Street Station. That station was functional when we passed through it. It's probably less than a quarter mile behind us.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to make your way through the train, calmly, using whatever authority and calm you can project, and begin moving passengers toward the rear car. Use the emergency rear exit. The tracks behind you lead back to a station that was functional. Moving passengers backward, away from whatever is ahead of your train, is the right call. Can you do that?
Yes, I can do that. I know how to move people. I've done emergency evacuations before. I know how to be calm in front of passengers when I'm not calm internally. I can do this.
Then do it now. Move every person in that train backward, and Amanda, if you encounter anything in that tunnel that presents with the behavior we've been describing today, keep moving. Do not stop. Do not engage. Just keep moving toward the light.
Okay. I'm going. Thank you, Michael.
Go. Be safe. A subway conductor in a tunnel between 42nd and 59th Street, with 60 passengers and something moving in the dark ahead of her. Jenny, every call today has been, each one is a person. A real person, who called a radio show because they needed someone to talk to, and because they needed someone to give them the thing that official channels have completely failed to give them today. Direction, honesty, a human voice that will not lie to them.
And it's why we're here. Still here. We have a report coming through that I need to read. The first FEMA designated safe zones are being announced via the emergency alert system. Major sports stadiums, several military base perimeters, a number of schools and community centers. The list is long, and I'm going to read the New York area locations for our local listeners. But I also need to tell you, 2 locations on that list have already been reported by callers in the last hour as compromised. I'm not going to name those 2. But I want our
Red Zone Radio. We have been at these microphones for, I've lost count, Jenny.
going on 9 hours.
9 hours. The internet in large sections of this country is functionally gone. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all offline or running at the kind of reduced capacity that amounts to offline. What that means, and I want our listeners to sit with this, is that the primary way that the majority of people in this country have communicated, stayed informed, and reached each other for the last 15 years, is down. And we're still here. Our signal is still transmitting. And the volume of people currently listening to this broadcast, our engineer just showed me the numbers, and they are unlike anything this station has ever recorded, ever. In its entire history, people are finding their radios. People who haven't turned a radio on in years are turning them on right now. Because when everything else goes dark, a radio signal is still a radio signal. We're going to stay on as long as we physically can, and we have people waiting on the phones. Let's go.
Hi, Michael. I'm in Central Park. I was trying to reach the safe zone at the location they announced on the alert. I left my apartment on the Upper West Side about an hour ago, because I thought I could make it on foot. I have my bag. I have food and water in it. I have good shoes. I planned this. I thought I planned this well.
Rosa, where are you exactly right now? Are you still moving?
I stopped. I'm stopped near. There's a cluster of trees near the path on the east side of the park. I stopped because about 10 minutes ago the park, which had been mostly empty, suddenly had movement. People-shaped movement, but wrong, the way that it's been described on your show. I've been listening since this morning, and I know what wrong looks like now. And I stopped walking, and I got behind these trees, and I'm very still, and I'm very quiet, and I'm talking to you with my voice as low as I can get it.
How close is the movement to your current position?
It was ahead of me when I stopped. On the path, I watched it pass. One figure, moving without intention feels like the wrong word, but it's the closest one I have. Not walking toward anything, just moving. And I waited until it had passed, and now I don't know whether to go forward or go back.
How far back is your apartment building from where you are?
6, maybe 7 blocks back.
And the safe zone is how far forward?
I'm not certain anymore. I've been moving through the park and I lost my precise bearing.
Rosa, here's the truth. I cannot see where you are. I cannot see what's between you and that safe zone. What I can tell you is that 6 blocks back is a distance you know. You know how you got here. You know what those 6 blocks look like. Going back is the option you have information about. Going forward is the option you don't. When you have 2 choices and information about one of them, take the choice you have information about.
Go back.
Go back, slowly, don't run. Running draws attention. Walk like you belong on a path, calm and purposeful. And if you encounter anything on that path that presents the way that figure presented, don't engage, don't make sudden movements, change direction gradually. Can you do that?
I can. I'm a New Yorker. I walk with purpose. That's all I've done my entire life.
Then walk with purpose right now. Back to your building. Every step of the way, stay on the line. Talk to me.
Okay, I'm moving. I'm on the path. The park is very quiet. I've never heard the park this quiet. There are no birds.
Keep moving. Keep talking.
I can see. There's the exit I came in through. I can see the street. The street looks clear from here. I'm almost to the gate.
You're almost there.
I'm out. I'm on the street. I'm going back to my building. Michael, there are no birds. I didn't notice until I was in there. No birds anywhere.
Get inside. Get upstairs. Lock everything.
Going now. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No birds. Same observation as Linda from the rural trails in Washington 3 hours ago. Whatever this pathogen does to cognitive function, it does it across species. The birds are gone because the birds already know. They knew before we did. And I want to give our listeners an update on our own situation in this building because I think you deserve transparency, and because hiding it would be a disservice to everything we've tried to do today. The sounds our engineer noted on the street-level security camera an hour ago have progressed. There is now activity on the street outside this building that we can see on the monitor. We have locked the building's main entrance. Our engineer has secured the stairwell door on this floor. The 4 of us, me, Jenny, our engineer whose name is Kevin, and our intern whose name is Tyler, are in this studio, and we are broadcasting.
The American military's situation. And I want to be careful about how I frame this, because I don't want to say something irresponsible. But there is audio, shared by a listener, who has a military radio receiver, from a military communications channel. It is being verified as we speak. The phrase used in the communication is, and I want to read this exactly, unable to hold the perimeter, in 3 cities. Unable to hold the perimeter. That is military language for something that every person listening will understand immediately. The lines they drew to contain this. Those lines are not holding. Let's take a call.
Hi, Jenny. I'm a firefighter in Chicago. I'm calling from inside Engine House 47 on the south side. We have 6 firefighters, 2 paramedics, and about 20 civilians who found their way to us in the last 2 hours. People from the neighborhood who had nowhere else to go. We let them in. I don't know if that was the right call, but I don't know how you close a door on people running toward you.
James, you made the right call. Tell us your situation.
We've barricaded the apparatus bay doors. Those are the big doors the trucks go in and out of. Heavy steel, motorized. They're closed and locked. We've got the side entrance secured with the truck equipment crate pushed against it. We have water. We have access to the house's water supply. Food. We've got a day and a half, maybe 2 days of combined food if we're careful. And we've got a full equipment bay, which means we've got tools, we've got protective gear, we've got medical supplies from the paramedic units.
How are the civilians handling it? The people who came in off the street?
Better than you'd expect. There's a woman in her 60s. She organized the children. There are 4 kids with us. Youngest is about 5. This woman sat them all in the kitchen area, and she's been playing quiet games with them for the past hour and a half. The 5-year-old is asleep on a folded turnout coat. There's a man who said he was a veteran, who immediately started helping shore up the side entrance without being asked. People find their function when they have to. That's what I've learned today. You give people something to do, and they do it.
James, has anyone from the city, from emergency management, from the National Guard, anyone official, made contact with you? Is anyone coming?
No contact. We've been trying our department radio for the last hour. We're getting fragments, other units. Nobody is giving us a status on when help might be available because nobody has that information. The honest answer from the fragments we can piece together is that every available resource is already being used somewhere and we are in the queue. How long that queue is, nobody can tell us.
What do you need your listeners to hear? What do you need people to know from where you're sitting?
I need people to know that if you find a group, any group of people who are managing, who have a space that's secured, join it. Don't stay alone. The military model that has served us in every crisis in this country's history is collective defense. You position people at every access point, you divide responsibilities, you take turns resting so someone is always alert. A group of 10 people is 100 times safer than 10 individual people. That math is real. Find your group, get to them. If you don't have one, start one. Knock on the doors of your immediate neighbors right now, tonight, before it gets dark.
James, you said you let those people in because you couldn't close the door on people running toward you. I want to say something about that. In 9 hours of broadcasting today, what I have seen is that the government response has been slow, confused, and inadequate. What I have seen from ordinary people. From a firefighter who opened his doors, from a trucker who stayed in her cab and gave us clear eyes on the highway, from a nurse who went back onto the floor for 6 patients who couldn't move, has been extraordinary. People are extraordinary. Please remember that today.
That's why we chose this work. Because people are worth choosing it for. Take care of yourselves over there.
Michael, our lights just flickered.
I felt it too. Kevin, status? Generator is holding. Rolling blackouts in the surrounding area. Kevin says we're on our own power right now. We've been on our own power for the last hour. I don't think I mentioned that. The building's grid connection went about 60 minutes ago. Our generator is what's keeping this signal alive. And we have fuel for, Kevin. How long? He's checking. We'll update you as soon as we know. And Jenny, before we go back to the phones, I just got a text from my wife. She's at her sister's place in New Jersey. She's safe. She's okay. Okay, good. Let's take another call.
Hi, I'm a student. NYU. I'm in my dorm room 8th floor. I've been here since the campus situation started this morning. I have my roommate with me and I need to ask something that I've been afraid to ask all day and I can't not ask it anymore.
Hannah, ask it.
My roommate was outside when things started on campus this morning. She wasn't bitten. She got away quickly. But in the process of getting away from someone who was affected, she got scratched on her arm, not deep, just a scratch, just surface. And she feels fine right now. She feels completely normal. Her arm looks fine. But I've been sitting here for hours trying to figure out, does a scratch matter? Is that enough? And I can't find any official information anywhere, and I'm terrified to ask anyone, because what if the answer is yes, and then what do we do? She's my best friend. She's been my best friend for 2 years.
Hannah, I want to be completely honest with you. We don't have confirmed clinical information about the precise transmission parameters of this pathogen. That information has not been made public, and we are not going to invent it. What I know, from the virologist who was on with us earlier today, is that biting is the primary known vector. What I can also tell you is that your roommate is showing no symptoms after. How long has it been?
About 5 hours since it happened.
5 hours, and she is fully herself? Cognition, conversation, recognition, all normal?
Completely normal. She's been on her laptop. She made us both tea an hour ago. She's completely Hannah. She's completely herself.
Then right now, in this moment, with the information available to us, she is okay. Keep her calm. Keep her comfortable. Keep her warm. Keep your door barricaded. And watch, not with fear, just with attention. Watch for any change at all. And if anything changes, call us back. Immediately. Whatever time it is.
And if something does change, what do I do? What do I actually do?
If something changes, you make sure there is a door between you and the change. That is the most important thing. You protect yourself first, and then you call for help. And I say that not because your friend doesn't matter, she matters enormously, but because you matter too. 2 lives matter more than 1. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand. I don't like it, but I understand.
I know. That's the right response to it. Stay safe, Hannah, both of you. Jenny, it's been 9 hours. We haven't left this room. And I'm going to ask Kevin to bring us water, because I am, physically right now, running on something other than anything biological. And Jenny called her mother a few hours ago, and I watched that. And I didn't say anything then because we were broadcasting and there was work to do. The eastern seaboard is experiencing widespread power grid failure. This is not localized. This is not a neighborhood outage. This is the largest simultaneous power grid failure in American history, happening in real time right now. We're on generator power. Kevin, our engineer Kevin, who has been in this building since before sunrise, who has kept this transmitter running through a grid failure and a building lockdown, Kevin just told me we have approximately 4 more hours of generator fuel. 4 hours. He did not tell me that to alarm me. He told me because I asked him to always tell me the truth, and the truth is 4 hours. We are going to use every minute of those 4 hours. Let's go.
Hi, Michael. I'm a paramedic. I want to start by saying I've been on shift since 11 last night. That's 22 hours ago. And I'm still on the street because there's nobody to hand off to.
Patricia, 22 hours. Are you okay? Physically, are you functioning?
Functioning. My hands are shaking a little. I've had 2 granola bars and half a bottle of water since midnight. I'm functional. I want to tell your listeners what Lower Manhattan looks like right now. Because someone should say it. Someone should describe it accurately, rather than the versions people might be imagining.
Tell us what you see.
It's quieter than it should be. That's the first thing that's wrong. Manhattan is never quiet. Not at any hour. There is always sound, traffic, people, something. And right now there are long stretches of complete silence broken by sounds that don't belong where they're coming from. A car alarm 3 blocks over that's been going for an hour with no one to stop it. Glass somewhere breaking at irregular intervals. And then the sounds of people, the people I recognize as people because of what they're doing, which is running, or calling out names, or crying. And then the other sounds, the ones that are harder to describe, movement that has no destination. I've been a paramedic for 11 years. My job is to move toward things that other people are moving away from. And today I've been doing my job, but there have been moments where I've stood still and I've asked myself things I've never asked in 11 years.
What did you ask yourself?
Whether any of this is enough. Whether anything I've done today made enough of a difference to justify. And I know this sounds terrible, and I'm sorry, to justify still being out here. I've lost count of how many calls I responded to. I know I helped people. I know specific people are safe because I was there. But the scale of it, the scale of what's happening, it's like trying to bail out the ocean with a teacup. And you keep bailing. Because what else do you do? But you feel the ocean.
Patricia, you went to work today and you didn't stop. You chose the teacup and the ocean. And I want to tell you something. Every single person you helped today, you were their entire world in that moment, not a teacup. Their entire world. The scale doesn't diminish the individual. It never does.
I know that's right. I know that intellectually. The knowing and the feeling aren't always in the same place at hour 22.
No, they rarely are. Is there somewhere you can go, Patricia? Somewhere you can rest? Even an hour?
I've been thinking about Engine 10 on Liberty Street. If they're still operating, their colleagues. Friendly space. I know the crew.
Go there, right now after this call. Go there.
After this call, yes, I'll go. Michael, thank you. I don't know who else was going to give me permission to stop for an hour, but I needed someone to say it.
Go rest. You've earned an hour. An hour of rest. That's what 22 hours of first responder service earns you right now. The permission to rest for 60 minutes. Jenny, the FEMA safe zone situation has deteriorated significantly.
3 of the designated safe zones: the stadium in Chicago, a community center in Seattle, and the high school in Miami. All 3 have been reported as overrun or abandoned by the military personnel tasked with maintaining them. We have multiple caller accounts from people who evacuated those locations in the last 2 hours. The accounts are consistent. There is a survivor network forming. Our caller from Montana, Greg, his ham radio frequency has now been in contact with groups in 23 states. He called back to update us. We're going to share that frequency information again at the top of the next hour for anyone who has ham radio capability. Let's go to the phones.
Hey, Jenny, I'll keep this organized because I know you've got a lot of callers. Name's Pete. I'm 47 years old, former Army, 12 years of service, currently living completely off-grid in Vermont. I've been listening on a hand-crank radio. My property is fully self-sufficient. Nearest neighbor is 4 miles away. I have seen 0 affected individuals. I want to be a resource.
Pete, whatever you have, it belongs to your listeners right now.
3 things. Water purification. If municipal water has gone down, natural water sources can be treated with unscented household bleach at 8 drops per gallon. Wait 30 minutes before drinking. 8 drops. 30 minutes. Write that down. Second, wound care without hospitals. Anything open is a risk. Rinse with the cleanest water you have, apply direct pressure, use the cleanest cloth you have as a bandage. Infection is your enemy in the absence of antibiotics. Keep wounds as clean as possible. Third, structural shelter. If you're choosing between a building you know and a building you don't, always choose the building you know, even if it seems less fortified. Familiarity is a tactical advantage. You know the exits, the weak points, the escape routes.
Pete, you have a ham radio set up. Can you serve as a relay point for survivors who need to communicate across regions?
Already doing it. I've been relaying since about hour 4. I have contact with groups in 28 states now, and I have 2 things I want to say about that. First, there are communities that are fully intact. There are places in this country that are untouched and functioning and safe. This is not over everywhere. Second, there are military units that are still aspirational, still fighting, still holding in several regions. I'm getting communication from them through the ham network. The military has not collapsed. Elements of it are struggling badly, but elements of it are still standing. I want people to know that.
Pete, what gives you confidence right now, if you had to name one thing?
The human beings I'm hearing on this radio, on your show, on the ham network. You'd think in a crisis like this you'd hear the worst of people, and I'm sure there's some of that happening somewhere. But what I'm hearing, a firefighter who opened his doors, a nurse who went back onto the floor, a paramedic 22 hours into a shift, a conductor moving 60 people through a dark tunnel. These are ordinary people. These are not heroes from a movie. These are people who just, when it mattered, showed up. That's always been true of human beings, and it's true tonight.
Thank you, Pete. Stay on that radio. Michael, Tyler wants to say something.
Tyler, our intern, ladies and gentlemen, 20 years old. Tell me he isn't old enough to be here.
I'm 19, actually.
19. You're on the air, Ty.
Hey, hi. I've been writing something down between calls and I asked Michael and Jenny if I could read it. I'm not a broadcaster. I'm an intern and I mostly make coffee and answer phones. Except the phones are now the entire job, apparently. But I wanted to say something directly to anyone my age who is listening. Because I think there's a specific kind of fear that you feel when you're young and something this big is happening. Because you're still at the part of your life where you thought you had so much time. You thought all the big stuff was ahead of you and you could figure it out later and there was no rush. And today has been the opposite of that. And I know some people my age are alone right now. And I know what that specific kind of alone feels like. And I just want to say, you're not alone.
Everyone who has been listening to this show today has been with you in the same room, even if they're in a different city. That's real. That connection is real. And as long as someone is listening, this broadcast matters. And that's true of more than just radio. As long as someone hears you, you matter. You matter whatever comes next.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right, Tyler, everybody. Our engineer just passed me a note. I'm going to read it as written. Security camera shows movement on the floor below us. Stairwell door is secure. Do not alarm listeners unnecessarily. I appreciate the guidance, Kevin. I'm going to be transparent with our listeners, because that is what today has been built on. There is something on the floor below us. The stairwell door on this floor is locked and secured, and our engineer, who has kept this entire operation running for 9 hours, is monitoring it. We are okay. We are broadcasting, and we have one more call to take before we give everyone a full update on everything we know.
Hi, I'm calling from a church on the west side, St. Anthony's. About 40 of us have taken shelter here in the last few hours. Adults, children, some elderly people. We got the doors barricaded about an hour ago. Father Joseph, our priest, has been incredible. He's been calm and organized, and he got everyone into the main hall and accounted for everyone by name.
Gail, 40 people, secured location, organized. That is exactly what it's supposed to look like. How are the children?
The little ones are okay. Father Joseph told stories for an hour. There's a 10-year-old boy who's been helping manage things. Passing water, keeping younger kids calm. Remarkable kid. We have elderly people with medication concerns. 3 people who need medication they either don't have enough of or don't have at all. That's our most pressing need. And we have people who are separated from family, and we have no way of knowing if they're safe.
The medication situation. Do you know what medications and what quantities you're working with? If we put that on air, there may be people in other sheltered locations nearby who have supplies they could potentially get to you.
Yes. We have someone who needs heart medication, a blood thinner, and 1 diabetic who has insulin for another 12 hours approximately.
We are broadcasting to the largest audience this station has ever had. Right now, if anyone within range of St. Anthony's Church on the west side of Manhattan has blood thinners, heart medication, or insulin, and can safely reach that location, you may be helping save a life. Gail, what's your exact intersection?
I'd rather not say on air. But anyone in the neighborhood who has those medications and can make it to St. Anthony's, we will be watching from the second floor window. You'll see a light. We'll be watching.
A light in the second floor window, St. Anthony's. If you have those medications and you are safe to move, do it. And Gail, before I let you go, you said you called because someone made it to their kids today and called to say so. You heard that call. I need to tell you something that I've been holding for a few minutes while I decided how to say it. Our generator fuel level. Kevin just gave me the updated number. We have approximately 1 hour of power remaining, maybe slightly more, maybe slightly less. There are things I can't control today, and the fuel level is one of them. What I can control is what we do with the time that's left. And I am going to be completely honest with every person listening right now about everything we know, everything we've learned, and everything you need to understand. Because if this is the last hour of broadcast, it is going to be the most useful hour of broadcast we've ever produced. Jenny, the stairwell?
Kevin checked 10 minutes ago. The door is holding. We are okay.
We are okay. Let's go.
Michael, hi, it's Carol from Tacoma. I called very early this morning about my brother. I don't know if you remember.
I remember you, Carol. Your brother, the first responder who came home and went quiet.
He came out of the bedroom about 2 hours ago. He came out, and he sat at the kitchen table, and he looked at me for a long time, and then he talked. He talked for about 40 minutes. He told me what he saw that first night, what he was called to, what he actually encountered. And I'm going to tell you what he told me, because I think people need to hear the full account. He was called to a residential address. Initial report was a wellness check. Neighbor concerned about a resident who hadn't been seen. He and his partner arrived and the front door was unlocked. They went in, and the resident of the home was. The resident was deceased, visually, clinically, clearly deceased. And as they were making that assessment, the resident sat up. Same as the hospital video, no transition, just off and then on. And my brother said that the thing that stays with him, more than the movement, more than anything physical about the encounter, was the moment the person's eyes found him. He said in 22 years of first response, he has never experienced anything look at him the way those eyes looked at him. He said it was like being seen to something that had no memory of what it was seeing him for. Not aggression, not recognition, just locating, finding him in the space, and then moving toward the location.
Carol, how did they get out?
His partner pulled the front door shut from the outside. They had been backing toward it while my brother was still processing what he was seeing. His partner pulled it shut, and they ran to the vehicle, and they radioed it in, and the response from their command, my brother said, the response came back in under 30 seconds. A 30-second response time from command on a situation they'd never encountered before. He said that's when he understood. That's when he understood that command already knew. They had a protocol ready. He just triggered it by calling it in.
And your brother, how is he now?
He's sitting at the table still. He said talking helped. He said he needed to say it out loud before it became something that just lived in him forever without shape. He's my brother. He's still in there. He's okay. And Michael, he told me to tell you to keep broadcasting. He said your voice has been the thing holding our family together today. He said it like it was the most important thing he could think to say.
Tell your brother, we hear him, and we're staying on. Jenny, the military officer. You mentioned earlier someone had called in, a military contact.
Holding. Let's take that call.
I'm a region code officer. I'm not going to say branch or rank. I'm calling because the truth is more important than my career right now, and I've been arguing with myself about that all day, and I'm done arguing.
Officer Hall, go ahead.
The public was told that the first confirmed case was in Seattle. That is not accurate. The first cases, plural, appeared 4 days before the Seattle announcement in a rural area of the Pacific Northwest. Those cases were classified within hours of identification. The decision to classify was made at a level that does not respond to public inquiry. The reasoning given internally was that the information would cause panic before containment could be established. The secondary reasoning, the one that was not written down anywhere, was that the situation had characteristics that no established containment protocol was designed to address. They classified it because they didn't know what to do yet, and they needed time to figure it out. They did not figure it out in time.
Officer Hall, the CDC official who was pulled from the podium this morning, the one who said novel reanimation pathogen. Was that accidental?
No. That was someone who decided the same thing I'm deciding right now, that the truth is more important. He'll face consequences. I'll face consequences. We made the same calculation. The math came out the same way. People deserve to know what they're facing, and they were not given that opportunity in the timeline that would have mattered most.
Is there anything, any piece of information that people don't have right now that would help them survive tonight?
One thing. There are military units that are holding. There are defensible zones being established outside the major urban centres, not the FEMA safe zones that were publicly announced, which have largely failed. Actual military perimeters. If you can reach a rural area and you see an active military presence that is organised and communicating, move toward it, not the cities. Away from the cities toward organised military positions. And one more thing, vaccine research is underway. I'm not going to tell you where or how far along, because I don't have that information, but it is underway. The scientists did not stop working when the city started failing. They kept working. I need that to mean something to the people listening, because it means something to me.
It means something. Thank you, Officer Hall. Vaccine research is underway. I want to say that again, because I think people need to hear it more than once. The scientists kept working. While the cities were failing, while the hospitals were emptying, while the networks were going down, somewhere, in a room with power and equipment, and people who know how to do this, they kept working. Michael, Jenny's list.
Listeners, Jenny has something she's been holding. Go ahead.
I want to read some names. These are the people who called us today. Just their first names and where they called from. Because they deserve to be known. because they made themselves known to us and to everyone who was listening, and that deserves acknowledgement. Sandra from Seattle, Derek from Portland, Carol from Tacoma, Marcus from Seattle, Diane from Chicago, Tyler from the National Guard, Dr. Reeves, the virologist, Linda from rural Washington, Dr. Evans from Seattle, Karen the trucker on I-90, the anonymous officer in Arizona, Tanya the hospital security officer, Brenda from the Bronx, Greg from Montana, Amanda the subway conductor, Rosa from the Upper West Side, James the firefighter from Chicago, Hannah from NYU, Patricia the paramedic, Pete from Vermont, Gail from St. Anthony's Church, Carol from Tacoma again, with her brother's story, and Officer Hall. Every single one of these people picked up a phone today and put their voice into the air and chose to be heard. And everyone who listened to them, you heard them. That matters. It will always have mattered.
Thank you, Jenny.
Hello, dear. I don't use the phone much, so forgive me if I'm doing this wrong.
You're doing it exactly right. Who am I talking to?
My name is Edna. I'm 73 years old and I live in rural Tennessee, about 40 miles outside of Knoxville. And the reason I'm calling, and I hope this is the right thing to do, is because I've been listening to your program for the last several hours, and I want the people in those cities to know something.
Please, Edna, tell them.
I have not seen a single one of these infected people you've been describing. Not one. My town is small. We've got about 800 people. We have a sheriff who's been driving the roads all day, and he hasn't encountered anything. My neighbor's cattle are fine. The birds are in my yard right now. I can see them from my window. My world is still here. It's frightened and it's praying and it's watching, but it's here. And I want the people in those cities who are suffering to know that America is very large. And the parts that are still whole, we are thinking about them. We are praying for them. Every hour today, since I first heard this was happening. Every hour.
Edna, how many people in your town know what's happening?
Everyone. Word travels fast in small places. The pastor opened the church this morning as a gathering point. People have been coming and going all day. Bringing food, sharing information, checking on the elderly. My church friend Helen is 81, and 3 different families stopped by her house today just to make sure she was okay. That's who people are when it comes to it. That's who people really are.
Edna, I want to tell you something. You called a radio show in New York City at what I imagine is past your usual bedtime. To tell people in a city you've probably never visited that you're praying for them. That is, I don't have the right word for that.
I raised 4 children. I've buried a husband. I know what it means to be scared and to need to know that someone in the world is thinking about you. It doesn't cost a phone call not to make that call, but it costs those people something if you don't. So I called. Now you tell those young people in that studio that someone out here is praying for each of them by name. Even though I don't know their names, God does.
We'll tell them, Edna. Our engineer just showed me something. I'm going to read it once, and then I'm going to read it again, and then a third time. It came in on a military frequency our engineer has been monitoring. It reads, containment operations continuing in multiple sectors. Vaccine research. Kevin just told me we have fuel for less than an hour. We don't know if it'll be 30 minutes or 55. He doesn't know exactly. We know it's less than an hour. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to use every minute of what's left to give our listeners everything we know. Every piece of information that might matter, and every honest thing we have left to say. Because when this signal cuts, and it will cut, we want the last thing our listeners took from this broadcast to be something worth carrying forward. Our phones are open. Let's go.
Michael, it's Karen, the trucker from I-90. I called this morning.
Karen, you're okay.
I'm okay. I made it off the highway. I drove through a field, actual field, took out a fence post. My dispatcher is going to have feelings about that, and I found a farmhouse. Older couple, the Hendersons. They let me in without hesitation. There are 9 of us here now. People who came off the highway through the same field, more or less. 9 complete strangers in a farmhouse in eastern Washington. Mrs. Henderson made soup. I don't know how she made soup in the middle of all this, but there was soup.
There was soup.
There was soup. Michael, I called back because I needed you to know I made it. Because this morning you told me to stay in the truck, and I did, and then you told me when to move, and I did, and I'm here, and I needed you to know that the advice worked. That someone is here tonight because of a conversation that happened on this show this morning.
Karen, thank you for calling back. Thank you for being the kind of person who calls back.
Keep transmitting. For as long as you can, keep transmitting.
That's the plan. Stay safe, Karen. Jenny, the generator.
I know. I can see Kevin from here. He's watching the gauge.
Then let's not waste the time. I want to give our listeners everything practical we've gathered today before this signal cuts. Everything. Ready?
Ready.
Here's what we know. Right now, on this broadcast, that from every caller and every piece of information that has reached us today, the pathogen affects the central nervous system rapidly, hours, not days. Behavioral changes include loss of cognitive function, loss of pain response, extreme aggression, loss of verbal communication. The affected do not respond to standard law enforcement incapacitation, taser, lower body firearms. The only confirmed effective response is trauma to the head. We are saying that because a law enforcement officer with 14 years of experience said it, and because the information helps people survive. Transmission. The primary known vector is saliva through biting. If someone you are with has been bitten, create distance. If someone has only been scratched, monitor closely. Do not assume the worst immediately, but watch for any change in behavior or physical presentation. If you are in a city, find a high floor, find neighbors, secure access points, find water now while it still runs. 8 drops of bleach per gallon of natural water. Wait 30 minutes. If you can safely reach a rural area with an organized military presence, move toward it, not away. The ham radio network is active. If you have equipment, get on it. There are survivors in 31 states in communication with each other. Vaccine research is active and ongoing. The scientists did not stop. And finally, and this is not practical information, this is just what we know to be true from everything today. When this gets bad enough, people help each other. They have always helped each other. Every single time, in every crisis this country has ever faced, people find each other and help each other. That is not inspiration. That is documented fact. That is what happened today. That is what is happening tonight.
Hey, I'll be quick. I'm calling from Ohio. My wife and I and our 3 kids are in our house. We've been listening since this morning. We are safe. Nobody's been hurt. We took the advice from your show today. We filled the bathtubs, we found our neighbors, we barricaded our ground floor. And I'm not calling with an emergency. I wanted to tell you that. That someone in Ohio listened and did the things and is okay. And I wanted to say thank you. Because my kids were scared, and my wife was scared, and I was scared. And your voices were... You were the thing that was calm when everything else wasn't. You were the calm in the room. For 9 hours, you were the calm in the room for my family. And that's worth a phone call.
Sam, tell your kids something for me. Tell them that next week, when this is better, because it will get better, tell them they were brave. Will you tell them that?
I'll tell them right now. They're awake. Kids, the lady on the radio says you were brave.
Tell them she means it.
They're waving at a radio because children are wonderful.
They absolutely are. Stay safe, Sam. Michael, Kevin is signaling 10 minutes, maybe 15.
Okay, Tyler, come here. Come sit down.
Hey!
You've been in this studio since 6 this morning. 19 years old. You want to say something to whoever's still listening?
Yeah, I do. I've been writing this down in pieces all day. I want to read it to whoever is still on the other end of the signal. Okay, here's what I know at the end of today. I know that I was scared all day and I kept going anyway, and that those 2 things can be true at the same time, and neither one cancels the other out. I know that the people who called this show today were not extraordinary people. They were regular people who, when it mattered, decided that one more thing was possible. One more call, one more step, one more hour. And I know that whoever is listening right now, alone in a room, or in a farmhouse with 9 strangers, or in a church with 40 people and a priest telling stories, or on the 9th floor with a neighbor making tea, you are doing that same thing. One more hour. You're doing it right now. And as long as one person is still listening, this signal means something.
And that's true of more than radio. It's true of every voice that decided to speak today when it would have been easier to stay you quiet. Wherever you are, tonight, you matter, and this was worth it, and please keep going.
That's the whole thing right there. That's all of it. Folks, Pete from Vermont, the former soldier on the ham radio network, has updated us for the last time tonight. He now has contact with survivor groups in 31 states. 31 states of people talking to each other, helping each other, sharing information, sharing resources, sharing the decision to keep going. Military units are holding in multiple regions. Vaccine research is ongoing. And Pete wanted to say one last thing, which I'll read directly. Every crisis this species has ever faced, every single one, ended. Some ended slowly. Some ended with enormous cost. But they ended. And the people on the other side of those endings were the ones who chose one more hour. Just one more hour. You're already doing it.
Michael, Kevin.
Okay. Our signal is going to cut in the next few minutes. I don't know exactly when. Kevin's working on everything he can, but the fuel is what the fuel is. Before it cuts, Jenny.
I want to talk directly to anyone who has been listening alone today. I know some of you have been alone in a room with a radio since this morning's. And this broadcast was the closest thing to company that you had. And I want you to know. We were with you. Everyone who called in was with you. Every person listening was in the same room as you, even from a different city. That is not a small thing. That is a real thing. Community does not require geography. It requires attention. And you paid attention today. You stayed. And I don't know what tomorrow looks like. I genuinely don't know. But I know that people who stay, who choose one more hour, are the people who get to find out. So stay, whatever it takes. Stay.
I'm going to tell you what I've never once said in 22 years of broadcasting, because there was never a reason to say it until tonight. This job, being the voice in the room when people are scared, it's a responsibility I have not always fully understood. I understood it today. Every caller, every text, every person who turned on a radio they hadn't touched in years because everything else went dark. I understood today what this microphone is for, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for every person who listened, and every person who called, and every person who kept their radio on. That's going to be it soon. Last thing I'll say, and then Kevin, you can let the signal do what it's going to do. The last thing is this. You already know how to survive. You've always